Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp with yet another brew review, and today we are diving into another one of Paul's I-tal beers. You might recognize this one just like yesterday. I think I still have the empty bottle here. So yesterday we had the green, the blonde 6% Westvleteren clone. Today we are going for the 12. Again, matching bottle cap, that is an extra point, but who's counting? The St. Paulus 12 Quadrupel, 11% ABV, or 11.2 to be exact, brewed on March 10th of 2025, so just over a year old. Strong dark Belgian beer, and I do find it funny that on both the labels he writes a description in English and then beer in Dutch. But I'm a sucker for things like that. Ingredients: water, malted barley, candied sugar, hop and yeast. 11.2% ABV, 60 EBC and 39 IBUs. Okay. That is higher in IBUs than I expected. But yeah. Let's have a taste. This has a shelf life until December 2028, and just like the original, it stays for a while. Today, not a Westvleteren glass because they are too dusty. I haven't used these in years, but I am using my authentic Trappist product, my ATP glass, because again, these beers deserve the same amount of respect as the original, and that way I can still get my glasses out of the cupboard once more. Okay, that being said, let's have a taste. Nice vapor coming off. Aroma coming out already. Just like the last one, nice foam formation. Yeah, that is exactly the color that I'm looking for. Dark brown, but when shining light through, deep ruby red. And then that foam, that head of foam is again beautiful, being perfectly refilled from the bottom by these very tiny bubbles, so the effervescence is on point, and we have a dark beige creamy head of foam here, again very level, yeah, very dense, looks beautiful. I do get a nice combination of roasted malts, carbon dioxide, and that candied sugar syrup that we talked about. Slightly vinous, but I do like that, so. But I might have a surprise. So Paul, I'm gonna put you on the spot, because I not only have a second glass here, and that is not for the second half of this bottle, but I do have the original here as well. And I'm gonna pit them against each other. I'm just joking, it's not to put you on the spot, but it is more for me as a tasting exercise. And just for shits and giggles, and to see how big the difference might be. If at all different. Now, first thing that I notice is I might have a bit more foam on the original, but It is less dense. I have more large bubbles. It is less creamy. So for my personal preference, the ball for the foam is in your court. Secondly, this one is lighter. So again, lower density, lower color intensity. It has that same ruby red, it is just less dark. Of course, that is the malt usage. So up until now, no problem at all, and they are equally nice. Going on color, I don't really have a preference. Going on foam, I think I like Paul's a bit better. But of course that says nothing at all. Aroma. A bit sweeter, a bit more sugary. Even though the ingredient list is exactly the same. Okay, let's have a taste. Paul, here's to you, and Sarah. Cheers. Now, I do want to note that this is not a contest. This is just sheerly out of interest. And I'm just gonna score this beer. I've already made videos about this one. I'll put a link up here. It's all about this one. This is just a gimmick. Relatively thin in mouthfeel. I expected this to be a bit thicker because of the candied sugar syrup. But obviously fermentation went very well. It is a bit thinner, but at the same time it does have some leftover sugar. It is still a bit sweet as it's supposed to be. So again, great points. Actual flavor wise, very warming, boozy. That is nice. I just checked because I do remember that this one is a 10% ABV, so these are 1% apart. But this one is very boozy, very warming, very wintry actually. And the first thing that that sprung to mind when I tasted this was this would be a fantastic winter beer. Because I also get some herbal and spicy flavors. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah, back to the beginning. First flavor I get is alcohol, ethanol. Ethanol is a strong flavor. Ethanol is a nice flavor. Is one of the reasons that we drink. And I do mean that it boosts flavors in digestives as well as beers, for example. Secondly, the candied sugar and the roasted malts actually go hand in hand, which is a very nice feat. But at the same time, I do get some spices, like, for example, a bit of clove. Now, I'm not sure if it's in there. It's not listed in the ingredients, but I do get a bit of clove, probably from the fermentation. But that is a nice addition, as it is subtle and it breaks the sweetness a bit. So yeah, brew technically, no remarks whatsoever. Very nice. But I think if you can just replicate this exact beer, slap a Christmas label on it, you might turn a profit in November. I do want to compare. Now, first the after flavor. The after flavor is very nice. It's everything I just mentioned, but mellower, more blended, more subtle, more balanced, and a bit vinous. It's like there's a tiny hint of red wine or glue wine in there. And I say glue wine because, of course, I am stuck with that clove in my mind. But yeah, very, very nice. Then to the original. First we rinse. Oh, funny. This one has a bit more of the ethanol flavor, but it is a bit less boozy, a bit less warming. That is partially that 1% ABV difference, because 1% difference proportionally that is a 10% difference from 10 to 11. So I find it funny that this one has a more outspoken ethanol flavor, while this one is just more warming, but it also has that ethanol flavor. I'm just gonna check the drip off. Nearly exactly the same, and that is where I wanted to get to, because the mouthfeel of these two is extremely similar. I said that this one was rather thin, but I seem to have forgotten how thin this one is, because it's, like I said, awkwardly similar. Carbonation, slightly heavier in this one, slightly less in this one. I find this one more pleasant, but of course this can differ from batch to batch. I want to say it's not an exact science. Actually, it is sort of an exact science, but we still play with living organisms and with feeling and timing and Fingerspitzengefühl. So these are really tight, really neck and neck. What I do notice is this one is slightly sweeter, and those bi-flavors that I noticed in Paul's one are absolutely not present in the original, meaning that clove that I talked about, for example, nothing whatsoever in this one. This one is cleaner, and the after flavor is caramelized sugar and ethanol. So this one with the clove and the vinous after flavor actually holds my preference, and it is very important for viewers to understand that I'm not saying this because we are friends in any way, shape or form. Of course, I do view Paul as a friend since we've met. We had a great afternoon. But that does not influence my judgment whatsoever. But based on personal preference, I like this one more. It is more balanced, it is more interesting. And I think it is very important for people to know that this is only named the best beer of the world because Michael Jackson wrote about it. It is an awesome beer, don't get me wrong. However, I think Paul's one is more interesting. because of those bi-flavors, because of that, intentional or not, that more complex flavor. And I think that the main difference here is a slight difference in malts, because this one is a bit darker and a bit more outspoken, but mainly the difference in yeast. I think this one relies more on a yeast strain that is relative to the one in Westmalle, for example. More bread, more banana, more sweet, more neutral, where this one may have used a clone, but I'm pretty sure that that clove and that vinous flavor is a combination of that yeast that Paul used and maybe the hops, be it in a smaller part. So Paul, I have to give you kudos. You know that I am nothing if not honest, but this is fucking awesome. I like it better than the original, personal preference, but like I said, if you slap a Christmassy label on this, rebranded, you might have a great holiday season. So yeah, ding ding ding, this is the winner. I already gave this a high score, we're not going to get into that again, but I am going to give this a 4.25 going on 4.5. Which is funny, because I did not expect, because I'm not the biggest fan of Westvleteren XII, I didn't expect to find this so great, but those nuances and those details are what makes it great for me. So yeah, spot on. And this is number 2 of 12, so I guess we'll have to do the other 10 now as well. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, leave a comment down below, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon, visit the Patreon page, share a video, send me beer, send me money, send me whatever you want, that doesn't hurt. And I will see you guys again in the next video with another I-tal Beer by Paul. Until then, cheers.